week 5 of the Smoke and Soul project. Dave and Cara and the girls are heading to Ballina and Tweed Heads in New South Wales and Coolangatta Beach in Queensland. Thanks to everyone for their ongoing support of the project and to our partners Phantom Screens, Charcoal Kings, Lane's Barbecue, Just Tinted and Ampol Australia with their Ampol Cash Fuel Card. After the break, we catch up with Dave as he arrives in Ballina. Dave, good to see you here in Ballina.
Yeah, mate. So it was about 2 hours from Coffs Harbour, which is handy. So we wasn't long on the road. We arrived on a Saturday afternoon up here, and straight away I thought I would head out and look at the area, look at the space at Mary's place. From everything I've heard, the three of them, so Pete's place in Coffs Harbour, Mary's place in Ballina and Fred's place in Tweed Heads, they all have a really close relationship, and the staff and the volunteers at Pete's place in Coffs Harbour had all spoken really highly of Tony and the people involved with Mary's. So I was really looking forward to heading up here. So as I said, got here on a Saturday afternoon. They're only open Monday to Friday, so wasn't able to go in and see anyone as soon as we arrived. But I sort of still took the afternoon to sort of head along, look at Mary's, find out whereabouts it is, get a feel for firstly if how I'm going to park and unload and set everything up, and also just get a bit of a feel of the space that they have. So I showed up there at Mary's on Saturday afternoon, looked around. They've got a really good outdoor area there, heaps of palms and a really good outdoor seating area. So it looked awesome. Managed to get Tony on the phone and sort of said, I was here and I was having a look around, and he was really helpful and said he was looking forward to having us. Yeah, so he sort of said to me, that they open at 8:30 and they do an early service. So that's, I think 8:30 is the earliest service I've had so far. So, I knew I had to be organised. Thinking about food and the sort of things I'm going to serve, given that it's an early start. And the thing I'm finding is everyone is expecting low and slow. Everyone wants me to serve up low and slow barbecue, and then they say, it's an 8:30 service. So that kind of makes things really interesting and sort of slightly harder. I just have to be a little bit more organised. They were after low and slow. It's been a few stops now since I've done pulled pork. So I thought I sort of do a pulled pork roll, with some bacon and fried off onion and cheese, and sort of make a bit of a breakfast roll out of some pulled pork. So I went out and spent Sunday morning going out, sourcing everything I needed, and then got back and spent sort of Sunday afternoon sort of getting everything on, and organised. So then I could just literally show up early. So service began at 8:30. There wasn't going to be anyone there until 8. So I had half an hour. It was really sort of that first hour at Mary's, I had half an hour to get everything unloaded, and then I had to get everything fired up, get food on in about half an hour. People were sort of expecting food at about 8:30. So
How many people were you expecting?
Yeah, I had no idea about the size of Ballina people it had. I sort of expected it to be like a small seaside town, but it's actually huge. There's heaps there. It had a bigger population than I thought. So when he said sort of 75 to 100 or 70 or sort of to 100, I was sort of a bit thinking, okay, all right, it's larger than I sort of thought. I thought maybe possibly 50, 60, but anyway, so I sort of went out and sourced food and catered for. I thought maybe if I can serve up 100 portions, I didn't have to feed necessarily 100 people, but if I could get together, just have enough food to do 100 portions of food, that should hopefully be enough. The other thing too is they usually do bacon and eggs sort of every every morning. And they asked me as well, they said, do you still want us to do our thing? And I thought, it's probably good for the clients. It's good for, I suppose, regularity, for the clients to have the same thing that they always get, and then they can get something that I'm serving on top of what they always have. When we had the service, people were getting their same old bacon and eggs, and then they were coming over for a roll, and it was, it was almost an extra helping. And then people were sort of coming back for a roll, to have for lunch also.
What time did you get up on Monday?
Oh, let me think. It was about 6:30. It wasn't where we were. We were at a caravan park not too far from Mary's. It was only about 10 minutes away. So I thought if I could leave at about 7:30, I'd get there at sort of 7:40, 7:45. And, I rocked up pretty much bang on 7:45, and I was the first one there. So I just had to kind of hang around out the front for a bit. And then someone was there at 8 and was sort of setting up furniture. And as I unloaded, there was people rocking up, for food, for their regular bacon and eggs, as I said. And so I sort of felt like I sort of felt like I had to hurry. People were expecting to eat.
Yeah.
So, fortunately I had all the food prepped up Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, so I could just head in, and in that half an hour just get everything out, heat it up, and by about 8:30 I had food sort of serving.
How did you heat it up? What was the setup for you to heat the food up?
So I because it takes about an hour to heat my offset smoker up. I've got to establish fire, whole bed. I've got to build it up slowly. I've packed with us. I've packed a couple of just gas, hot plate Barbies, so I could just literally just throw them on a table, fire them up, instant heat. All the pulled pork was already shredded, so I could just literally throw it on, heat it up. I'd already sort of part fried off my onion and bacon, and these are all the things I need to think about the afternoon, the evening beforehand, knowing that I'd only probably have half an hour. So
it really just reminds me how much work goes into preparing 100 meals or 100 portions, be they rolls or be they slow cook. And also you had to prep it, and then you've got to reheat it and get it going again, and you're under the pump.
Yeah, you just have to be super organised. I've sort of learnt throughout this whole thing, the more organised I can be the afternoon, the evening beforehand, just the easier service is. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect to have as many early services as I've had. I sort of, because, when we have the Adelaide event, it's always in the evening. So I've got all day to sort out food, but we've had so many lunches and a good handful of sort of 8. Well, not as early as 8:30, as I said, but it's been sort of. This one was 8:30. We've had a few like 9:30, 10:30. So it sort of makes no. To be honest, it makes no difference whether it's 8:30 or 10:30. I have to be organised the afternoon, the evening beforehand. So
I think it's clear to date, and from speaking with the people and also with you rise to the challenge and you're organised. Tell me about service.
So I'm happy to say, and I'm always happy to say, I served out. So I didn't have anything left over. I reckon I did do about 75 people, but I definitely served 100 servings. Some people came back for, for extra helpings. They came back for seconds. They asked me to do them, like a roll for lunch. I think it helped that Mary's had their regular bacon and eggs as well. So I think, people sort of had the options there. They felt comfortable having their regular bacon and eggs that they usually have, and then they come over and saw me and had a roll for lunch, or they had a roll after their eggs as well. But yes, 75 heads, I reckon. And that's actually, it's funny, they actually came up to me afterwards and said it was actually slow for them on that particular day, they said usually it's over 100.
What was the weather like?
Perfect. So
Okay,
nice.
wow.
Yeah, really sunny, warm, and also everyone said to me that it's been hasn't been like that often. It's been raining a lot in the weeks leading up to it. It just so happened that the 3 nights that we were there, it was just really just sunny and warm. And
was there anything that stood out for you at Ballina?
I don't mean to sort of compare and rate the services against each other, but there's certain services that you definitely feel the love more than others, and that's not to say that I haven't felt the love from the other ones, but this one was just, people were just so happy that that I was there. And something that will stick with me, I think something that will stick with me forever is just people coming up to me and shaking my hand and just holding it. You and I, I'm sure we've shaken lots of people's hands, over our life. And when someone shakes your hand and they don't let go of your hand and they hold it, it really hits you hard. And I really felt it sort of in the heart. Like, I felt how much it meant for them that I was there. And I've said this a few times in the past. Like, it actually didn't matter what food that I was serving. I could have been serving them anything. The fact that I was there, the fact that I made that effort, so many people came up to me and just shook my hand and just held it and just, looked me in the eye and said, "You have no idea how much this means." And then Tony at Mary's, he sort of came up to me at the end and he goes, "You don't realise, mate." He goes, "You served 75 people today. You've made their day. You've made 75 people. You've absolutely made their day by just being here." Early on, coming from Adelaide to feed them, it's like, I say it's not a big thing. It is a big thing, but the further north we are, people sort of go, you've come all the way from Adelaide. Like, it just doesn't make sense that someone would come all the way from Adelaide to feed them. But I'm like, absolutely, I have. I've come all the way from Adelaide to be here and feed you. There's a common theme throughout all of these services that we have, and the theme is it's bigger than food. I've said it several times. It's bigger than food. I could be serving anything. These people just really appreciate anyone that's going to go out of their way to help them. I suppose the other aspect of this service, and something that I hadn't thought about, which just the amount of flood victims that have come in as well. Their numbers have gone up over the last 3 years since the floods. These are people who had homes and have lost their homes in the floods, and it's another part of the story on this trip.
After the break, I catch up with Damien from Phantom Screens in this week's Sponsor Spotlight. Damien, what got you interested in the Smoke and Soul project?
Basically seeing Dave Meadows, all his posts on Instagram and Facebook, and just seeing what he's doing and helping out the homeless and the underprivileged around the country, and going on that massive journey was just very inspiring. And I just thought that was an amazing thing he's doing.
It is an amazing thing, and people like yourself who got on board early on in the piece were amazing too, because you led the way to provide him with the funds to actually get around the country and to visit 19 centres that are feeding the homeless.
Yes, I sort of saw that he was getting his donations or sponsorship, many donations through people, which was fantastic, just the average, whether they're friends or whether they're acquaintances or just saw him on social media, and they were starting to sort of step up the amount that they were donating. And then I saw that a couple of times he sort of was a little bit down, I suppose, in the fact that the amount coming through. And I sort of had been thinking about it for a while, and then sort of just decided to bite the bullet and got in contact with Dave and said what I'd like to do. And he came up to my place and we had a bit of a chat, and things moved forward from there.
Now, you run a business called Phantom Screens. Can you tell me about that business?
So we're a manufacturing company here in South Australia that manufactures motorised outdoor blinds up to 12 metres wide and retractable door screens up to 9 metres wide for the whole country and New Zealand. And it's all based here. It's a family business and been going for 31 years. And yeah, we just sort of like to sort of help people out in our own community.
With the business, you manufacture everything in Adelaide?
We do. Yes, so we've got three factories, 2 for manufacturing and 1 for our own powder coating facility, which is called Phantom Powder Coaters. So we try and keep everything in-house and source as much as we can of our materials from Australia, SA especially.
Damien, so great to meet you, and thank you so much for your time and also for supporting Dave and his mission. He's halfway through. What are you thinking the next half is going to be like for him?
Oh, I don't know how he's got it in him, to be honest. Like, just to get up every day and do that, to do it for a few days or a week in a row, that would be a stretch. But to be able to get up every day and to be able to cook all the food, have it all prepped, get up early, just to keep that happy look that he's always got going all the time, good on him.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you to you, and thanks for your time.
No, thanks so much.
Dave, next stop for you is Tweed Heads.
So heading up there, we are also partnered with Vinnies up there. This one's called Fred's Place. It's the third of the trio. The Coffs Harbour, Ballina, Tweed, Vinnies. Really looking forward to heading up there. And again, Tony, it's funny. So when I was doing the Ballina service, Tony actually rang Sharna in Tweed and said, "Look out! I hope your clients are hungry, because this guy is going to come up and look after him."
So tell me about Tweed Heads. You were there for a Thursday service. Was it breakfast as well?
Yeah. So it was sort of mid morning. So arrived on a Tuesday. So we arrived here relatively early, and I got the opportunity to head in there and see Sharna and get an idea of the space and everything that they had, same as everywhere else that I've been. And she was really helpful, and she's got some awesome staff up there, volunteers. They offer heaps of services up there. Yeah, so after I caught up with Sharna, she sort of told me that they do like around 100 to 120, which is, huge numbers up. And then so she said, can we aim for a 10:30 service? And there's been a theme up here as well. Like, everyone's just really like relaxed, and she sort of said, we'll aim for a 10:30 service, but if it's a little bit after that, that's fine. Everyone will wait. So so it was mid-morning, but again, they were really excited about me serving low and slow. I decided to go with the cheeseburger idea, which we did in an earlier stop. Everyone loved it. So I'll do some pulled beef with some onions and bacon and just do a really like loaded cheeseburger. That's the thing too. Like, I haven't liked to repeat meals that I serve in previous stops, but at the end of the day, like, I want to make people as happy as I possibly can. So if I've got to serve the same thing, that's okay.
So you did your shopping?
Yeah, so went and sourced all my food. Something I found up here is things were quite expensive, so I had to sort of shop around. The other thing too, I'm still very conscious of how much I spend. I'm still looking at that end, the end aim of this whole thing. I want there to be some left over for me to give back. So I don't want to just because I've got the funds there to spend, I don't want to spend it all. So sort of had spent longer than I anticipated, having to shop around a bit. But yeah, found some good cuts of beef that were reasonably priced, and got back to the apartment. Once again, it was an afternoon of getting food on early, getting as much food organised, getting it prepped up as best I can to leave myself not lots of hurrying for service the following morning. And actually, it's funny because everyone sort of asks me, like, when I say what I'm going to, serve, people just can't comprehend. How are you going to do that in the short period of time that you have. But yeah, I sort of say, look, I'm organised. I get food on the afternoon beforehand, but yeah, when I said to Sharna what I was intending on serving, she was like, they're going to absolutely fall off their seat.
How many people did you end up serving?
I reckon this was our biggest service yet. I was flat out. I was on my own, which is okay. I'm happy to serve on my own. I did 110 heads.
Wow.
And people come back for seconds, which is always nice. And then again, because it was that mid-morning, people were after a burger to have for lunch, and so I wrapped a few of them up in foil and sent them off. But again, very similar feel, very similar vibe to Ballina. People were just so happy that I was there. They usually do like a relatively simple service themselves. Fred's do their bacon and eggs, and they have cereal and other things. A bit different to Ballina. They didn't do their food because Sharna was just so excited to have the food that I had offered. She was like, no, like people will love your food. So it was kind of, I suppose it was handy these staff there got a bit of a day off, and I was happy to look after everyone. So the feedback I had was excellent. Everyone loved it. These past couple of services, I've come away from it feeling, I suppose, very, very fulfilled, and yeah, my heart is full.
I did get a chance to chat with Sharna, and Sharna's going to join us after this break. I'm joined by Sharna from Vinnies Fred's Place in Tweed Heads, New South Wales. Sharna, welcome to the Smoke and Soul podcast.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having us.
I'm really interested to share with our listeners some insight in regards to who you support in Tweed Heads.
Well, hi, yes, my name is Sharna. I'm the team leader of Fred's. I've been privileged to be the team leader there for the last 2.5 years. I have been in welfare for 36 years. So I've had a variety of programs, worked in a variety of programs and services. Fred's, when I first went for the interview, I was told different things about Fred's. They couldn't explain really what Fred's was until they said every day changes at Fred's. And now looking back at that day, I actually said to my manager the other day, I said, I do totally understand what you mean now about what Fred's provides, because every day is different at Fred's. We have good days, we have bad days. So for us in Fred's Place Tweed Heads, we're very similar to the hubs that Dave has gone to at Coffs Harbour and Ballina. We just all run a bit differently, and different volunteers and staff. So I'm the team leader. We have 3 caseworkers and 1 support worker. 2 support workers, sorry. We recently got a new support worker, which is great. And up to 2 to 3 students at a time that are actually doing their degree in social work, which has been great. We have volunteers that cook, and so anyone in the community can come to Fred. So we have people from babies to people that are 99, 100 come to Fred's. They may be homeless, they may be at risk of homeless. That's the primary focus, but we find as people we're getting the name out there that anyone's coming to Fred's, even if it's just for a cup of coffee and a chat. A lot of the people in our street, we're in Boyd Street, a very popular street in Tweed Heads. They live in those social housing units, and they're very much struggling to even put food on their table for dinner for that night. So they'll come and have a hot meal in the morning for breakfast, and then take some food. We get food delivered from Oz Harvest and have some meals for dinner at night. People that come to Fred's, as I said, come from everywhere. We have a lot of people, single parents. We get a lot of DV, people escaping domestic violence. We have a lot of people definitely incarceration, with Grafton Correctional Centre being the closest jail. They just get sent out with no ID, no nothing. So our staff are very warm and caring. We don't judge anyone that comes in. People come, with facing obviously lots of trauma, mental health, addiction, displaced from homelessness. We're still actually working with people that were displaced in the floods, just still not housed, unfortunately.
So Dave and Cara were with you on Thursday. Can you describe what they did specifically and what impact it had on your community?
Wow, I've actually got no words. Having Dave there yesterday just really reminded me why, after 36 years, as I go on leave, that this is the work I do. I mean, I'd read about Dave's work. I didn't realise he had an Instagram until last night, so I really wish I had have. I would have been actually advertising it more. Unfortunately, it was a bit wet in Tweed. We're a bit concerned, but there was a big rainbow when I got to work, and Dave was setting up, and I thought, perfect, this is going to be a great day. Dave was just the most warm, welcoming, just beautiful heart person. As soon as I met him, you just get that. I guess working in the field, your gut instincts, you picked up on people, and he was just a beautiful human. We're lucky that we just bought some new gazebos with our end of year funding, so we're able to set some up for Dave and also for our clients, and he provided a warm breakfast for our clients through the barbecue, which everyone just loved. Like, they were raving about it. I think they're not going to want to go back to their scrambled eggs and baked beans. And 2 days a week we do have bacon and egg burgers. But yeah, Dave's was just beautiful. But he also, just the way he worked, he was by himself. Our staff offered, but he declined. Like, we helped a little bit set up. He was quite happy on his own. He just didn't stop from the minute he got there. I think he served over 100 meals. I believe he could have served more. Fortunately, the staff got to have some. It was lovely. And yeah, people wanted takeaways, but they'd run out. So it all got eaten. Just a beautiful heart person. And when you actually hear his story and what he's done, like I said, I wish I researched it a little bit more. Yeah, we're very all touched.
The floods are still having an effect on people.
Oh, absolutely. There's still people homeless from that. Yeah, there was a lot of... I actually worked in the flood recovery prior to Fred, so yeah, I got to see it firsthand. It's not something I wanted to stay in, to be honest. There's still displaced, unfortunately. The rents are sky high in Tweed Heads. Everyone wants to live in Tweed Heads, but with COVID, obviously living on the border has been really difficult. You know, and we get a lot of people, so a lot of the Queensland residents have been asked to move on and so we've got a lot of Queensland clients now coming over to us. And when they go into housing, well, go for housing, they can't because they've been in Queensland. So they need to be in New South Wales for 6 weeks. So sometimes we have to tell them, sleep on this side of the border, on the streets, so you can get support. Or unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Yeah. Yeah. So we get both sides of the border, Queensland and New South Wales.
So leads me to my next question in regards to the demand on your services. Has it changed over the last 2 years? And if so, what's driving that?
I've had lots of conversations, I've got to say, I've only been there for 2.5 years. Our manager's been there, I think. Regional manager Kim, she's a vocal part of Fred's that really advocates for Fred's Place and all the hubs. She's a regional manager of all the hubs and other services down to Newcastle, but a very much advocator for the hubs, and she will go in advocating a lot for us and funding, which we're funded by at the moment by Vinnies. And Vinnies just put this money aside for the hubs each year. And yeah, so the way Fred's used to be, that Fred's was only set up, we got a 2-bedroom house. I took Dave through. It was set up, for 40 people even back in the day, so 10 years ago, which now we're feeding 120 to 130 people a day. We've totally outgrown the house. Our office is very small. I showed David that, but we did get furniture that gives us a little bit of privacy. I showed him the little doctors. We have a doctor and nurse room once a week. We have 13 service providers that come in. So that ranges from mental and health workers from New South Wales Health, drug and alcohol workers, community corrections, a range of services. 13 services come to our hub to see the client, so that is great. Centrelink, which is amazing. Our Centrelink worker is on a Tuesday. Everyone loves Paul. He's part of the furniture there. So we welcome all our service providers in because they help us, and we find our clients won't go to appointments unless they come to us. So we've totally outgrown the space. Everyone's sitting out the front, which they would tell you, under the marquees. They can come in and do their washing, and then there's a space out the back. We've got a very small kitchen, which at the moment we've just been funded to get a stove fixed. So our lovely volunteers have been cooking in electric frying pans and different things, which has been difficult. And microwaves for scrambled eggs, which isn't too nice, but people eat it. We've definitely outgrown the space, a 2-bedroom house that was set up for this 10 years ago, to what we've got now, 130 people a day, 6 workers. There's been a lot of change. And I used to refer to Fred's. I had a lot of people that I knew that used to go there. It's definitely changed over the years. We've also had a lot of students that are now come back as mental health workers, social workers, and community corrections. So it's interesting how things used to be years ago, and they said how well it's running now. Obviously, thanks to Kim, the regional manager, and myself, making change, I guess. And
we're having to adapt, obviously, to an increased number of people.
Yeah, 100%. And referring people on, like I said, to the caseworkers, they're crisis case manager workers, not long-term. People become very itinerant. So you'll start working with them and they'll disappear, or they might end up in jail or rehab, but they always seem to come back. We've had an influx of people coming back again since I've been there, but also a lot of new faces as well, just with the rental crisis. Rent's just too expensive. There's not enough homes, and even for everyday people like myself that work in the industry, to find somewhere to live is just, I think when they got the new hospital, there's a lot of people that have moved up from Sydney. There's just not enough properties in New South Wales, especially when it comes to low income property, social housing. There's definitely not. I think we've had about 20 clients, particular male, being moved to Newcastle in the last couple of months, which they've got accommodation, which is amazing for them. They've been very hesitant because they're worried about supports, and they're so used to us and everyday things. But it's also exciting they've got housing.
Sharna, in what ways can people support the work you do?
There's a couple of ways that people can support the work we do. We have a lot of the local high schools and primary schools that drop in meals to us to put in the freezer that people can later take away. We've got a lot of people in motels, and they'll just take the meals to cook that night for dinner. Anyone to bring food, a lot of non-perishable food items, we're welcome. Any hygiene things, and things from jocks, socks, and that sort of stuff that people just unfortunately lose or need to change quite often when they come in for a shower, so they're very popular. We also, sleeping bags and tents never go astray. Yesterday, Dave could actually tell you that we had Powerfish, an icon in Tweed Heads, come, and he bought a truckload of tents, socks, jocks, sleeping bags, batteries and torches, and little gas burners and things like that. So they all go very quickly at Fred's, especially when it's raining, because people get washed out, obviously, in their camping spots. So anything like that, we're totally welcome to. People donate cash to us sometimes just to $5 for a client to be able to get back from the hospital for a bus fare, and they also can donate to Vinnies, which I always give them the link that comes directly to Fred's place.
Great. We can put that link in the show notes. And how do they get in contact with you?
At Fred's place, they're more than welcome to ring myself or any of the wonderful staff. We are actually at 9 Boyd Street, Tweed Heads, and our phone number is 0755 36 1906. Welcome to also send emails at Sharna, shana.laser, Lazer, at vinnies.org.au. I think that's probably during hub hours we get very busy. So hub hours are 8 to 12:30, and that's when the staff breathe after that. And they do their case notes, cleaning, all that sort of stuff. And that's probably a good time for donations or if people want to chat about services.
Sharna, thanks so much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Dave, Coolangatta Beach was next on the schedule?
Yeah, so unfortunately we had to call it off. The heavens opened and it rained heavily, like really heavily. There was just no way of, of having it, having it on. It wouldn't have been any fun for anyone. So it's unfortunate. It was a barbecue that I was really excited about, but yeah, we just had to call it off.
Any chance to reschedule?
No, unfortunately, the schedule we won't allow it.
Your next stop's Brisbane?
Yes, yep, super excited about heading up there, partnering with my car project. another lunchtime service. So, yeah, serving probably around 50, 60 people again up there.
Safe travels, and look forward to checking with you next week.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks to Sharna from Vinnies, Fred's Place in Tweed Heads for sharing the work that they're doing in their community. And thank you for listening and for following Dave and Kara's Smoke and Soul project. Please follow and share the podcast with your family, colleagues and friends. Dave and Kara are off to Brisbane and Maryborough in Queensland next week. Looking forward to your company again next week on the Smoke and Soul project. I'm Wallace Long. Thanks for listening.